development and climatic change issues, and another issues is water pollution issues. It's a big issues, big challenge. Before that, I would like to say I have some presentation, but it is difficult for me to share it. I will try to say the things in lucidly regarding the water pollution. The water pollution, what is basically mean actually the water pollution? Water pollution basically that water we use for various purpose and taking the water from collecting the water from some sources. We have two basic sources, surface sources and underground subsurface sources. Now, when the uses of that particular water cannot be done because of some presence of somebody, presence of some materials, then it is said to be what it is polluted. Now, I am just giving one example. Suppose there is a fire breaks out. Madam Orpita, can I say one thing? Am I audible?
Yes, sir, you are audible, and you have the presenter right as well. In the just see the below that mute, unmute, then stop video, and then you have the shared option. So after clicking on the shared option, you will get that it is your screen share option.
Oh, screen share. So right at this moment, it is not available. So I'm just speaking. Okay.
Okay.
Okay, because it is difficult for me because I am doing from through our smartphone because my computer is not supporting the WebEx. Okay.
Okay. No issue, sir.
Okay. I think you will get my all points. Okay. Now I'm just telling that water pollution basically is a contamination of water sources. Contamination of all kind of water bodies such as rivers, oceans, lakes, swamps, etc. along with the underground, along with the subsurface. Now, this water pollution is basically due to some contaminants like organic and inorganic in nature, biological in nature, radiological nature, heat, and which actually degrades the quality of water so that it becomes unfit for use. Water pollution is not only confined to surface water, but it is also spread to the groundwater, sea and ocean. That is important and that is why it is a challenge. Now, I am just telling one thing in connection to your state, Himachal Pradesh state. I have not worked Himachal Pradesh for any time, but I heard something about Himachal Pradesh water pollution in different kinds of river, especially Yamuna river, Sirsa river, Markandeya river, and also to some extent Sutlej river. In our state, it is known as Satadru, that is Sutlej river, and it flows through Punjab, Haryana, and also towards the towards actually the Jammu and Kashmir, and ultimately it goes to Pakistan. So that all these rivers are very much polluted, but not polluted because of these total anthropogenic reasons. There are some reasons which are coming from the natural reasons, and some points are there. In some of the areas, there are some industrial sectors. These industrial sectors, I think you may correct me if I tell wrong. That is regarding the Baddi industrial clusters. That is it is the Baddi industrial clusters. It is situated in Solan district, and in this district there is a place called Barotiwala and Nalagarh, and there are a lot of industries are there. So there is another important source of industrial pollution and as well as man-made pollution. And near your Sirpur also, Siramur also, and there also some pollution is taking place because of some municipal sewage problem. So let us see that what are the various types of water pollution which plays a havoc role for doing the contaminations. Basically, there are two types of sources. One sources is known as point sources. These point sources are directly attributable to one influence, directly attributable to one influence. That means pollutant travels directly from the source to water. Suppose there is an industry and say distillery industries are there, and in your state lot of pharmaceutical hubs are there. They are manufacturing different types of medicinal materials, medicinal bulk medicines or say packaged medicines. Now, when they are using water for preparation of this bulk medicine and they are throwing it away, sometimes partially treated, sometimes some treatment or without treatment. Now, when it goes directly to the river, say river called say Sirsa river or Jamuna river or Sutlej river, Markandeya river, etc., then this is called point sources. This is called point sources. Now, the point sources, if it is a and there are some other sources, these sources are known as non-point sources. Non-point sources is ill-defined, not properly defined, and it is a diffuse source, and this vary spatially and is very difficult to regulate. Now, this is basically the point. The main sources of non-point sources are say flood water, agricultural runoff, and also the wastewater coming from leaching actions of solid waste dumping, etc. Now, the main sources of this kind of wastewater are known as community wastewater. Community wastewater as the discharges from houses, commercial, industrial establishment, and which are connected to the public sewerage system. In some municipality there is no public sewerage system also, and in some municipality only septic tanks are there, only the hope, only the service management for disposal of fecal matters from individual houses. But the sewage contains a lot of human excreta, animal excreta, food residues, cleaning agents, etc. If it is not being properly treated, then there will be a tremendous pollution. Industrial waste are actually basically it is discharges from various type of inorganic and organic pollutants. I think some of you know very clearly that different type of industries are there. A lot of different type of industries, starting from cement plant, starting from metallurgical plant, starting from small scale sector like say food and beverage productions, food industries, food processing industries, and different pharmaceutical hubs, pharmaceutical industries, and also there are some small scale of dairy industries, distilleries, etc. And another major sources, now industrial sources, the main problem is that its parameters, its nature of wastewater and nature of quality varies from one industry to another industry. And also there are some industry which actually produces a lot of toxic materials, very highly toxic materials for the living beings. And also agricultural sources where from a lot of agricultural residues along with some fertilizer residues are coming off, which contains a lot of nutrients, nitrogen and phosphate, and also it contains a lot of pesticide, herbicides, fungicides, many kind of such kind of waste which are coming as a agricultural runoff. And fertilizer contain major plant nutrients such as nitrogen, phosphorus and potassium, and these excess fertilizers may leach and may reach to the groundwater by leaching activity and mixed with the surface water of rivers, lakes and ponds by runoff and drainage. You know some interflow connections of the subsurface water from one place to another portion, from one place to another place, and when it is going through the river directly through this interflow mechanism, then lot of pollution takes place. So these are the routes, different type of routes where from you will get the water pollution. We actually use this water for our beneficial purpose, but this river water of surface water is continuously contaminated due to the discharge of certain anthropogenic activities. And so naturally these are the major challenge today, that how we can combat this thing. Now regarding this thing, and some other kind of pollutions are there which are very important, that is called thermal pollutions. Thermal pollutions are mainly due to thermal and nuclear power plants discharges. Now when this heated water comes to the river or any kind of surface or groundwater even, then immediately the temperature will increase. The temperature of the river water and also in the groundwater will increase tremendously, and it cannot be used for used by the community. In many places there are some dumping of calcium carbides, battery plants and carbide plants, especially it has been seen in the upper Himalaya, that is in Nepal and also in the Sikkim, Bhutan, all these places. It has been seen that they are dumping some kind of carbide materials, and these carbides are very dangerous because it produces a lot of heat in the surface water or the river, and that should be protected, and that should be controlled, and that should be effectively managed. Now, in India, also in many places, the groundwater is threatened by the contamination of seepage. That is very important. In Himachal Pradesh also, a lot of seepages are there, seepage activities from the solid waste dumping area. Sirsa River is one of the example, and there also industrial sectors are there. And I think in near your management institute, there are some solid waste dumping here. And from the solid waste dumping yards, because nothing to do, landfill will be required because you have to dispose your solid waste regularly and daily life. But this population is becoming more. So natural, as a result, what is happening? Your population is increasing day by day. Solid waste is also producing day by day increasing, and you are not getting the adequate land because land is restricted. And now the land, since the land is restricted, then you have to dump the same land for the extra amount of extra surge of the solid waste. And naturally, what happens after the rainy season or due to the contact with the water, moisture will develop within the solid waste material, and that will come out as a liquid fraction. And that liquid fraction, when it is transmitted through the ground, underground by infiltration, then a lot of contamination will take place because the leachate contains the sewage, the solid waste leachate from the landfill contains very high organic matter, and not only organic matter, but there are also some other kind of contaminants, also contaminants, the nitrogen contaminants, phenolic components, phenolic contaminants, pesticide contaminants. All these things are there, varied in different concentrations, but all the concentration exceeding the allowable limit. So this this is very important from the leachate from the solid waste dumping here, and also from the industrial solid waste dumping here. There are also some salvage materials are there, and especially from the cement plant, steel plant, all these blast plant slag materials are there, where from these contaminants are generated as a leachate, and ultimately it includes the groundwater and make the water contaminated. So that is very important. And thermal discharge, heated discharge, very high amount of heat discharge will be also governed from the different type of that is also emanated from different type of thermal based power plant, coal based power plant, oil based thermal power plant, and also from nuclear based power plant. But sometimes we normally advocate for the change of fuel. It is best that if we can manage with hydroelectric power, but hydroelectric power is not possible because sometimes the water is not adequate, and also the efficiency of the hydroelectric power is not very high. It is only used for the local area, some small area for small purpose. Anyway, and we also say some non-conventional energy, that is solar energy, and that is also not adequate. But there are some trying. There are also, we are nowadays the government and others, they are also giving ample support for switching over this fuel for generation of power. So that is the thermal pollution and underground pollutions. Marine pollution, another important is marine pollution. Of course, the marine pollution will be not seen in your Himachal Pradesh, but marine pollution is every coastal place it is there. And marine pollution is very much important for ecological restoration. You see, we are talking about, although it is not included in my lecture, just I am giving 1 or 2 points, that in this Save Earth slogan, we are saying that the sustainable development, ecological restoration, climate change issues, and all that, all issues we are addressing. But the question is that if it is intimately connected, because it is earth. If you find from the top, you will find that earth is nothing but very miniature, even it is not equal to a spot, not a period. Periods, there are some dimension in period, but this period dimension is not available if you go to the top level, galaxy level. But I'm not talking into that level, but I'm just telling that if the marine pollution is there, then this ecological life will disturb, because aquatic lives in this sea, marines, and all the places will be tremendously disrupted, and naturally it will be affected to the upper land also. That means the river and all this plain land and hill land also it will be affected, because ultimately the water will come from the sea, and that will be also it contains these uh, cloud contains, vapor contains many pollutants, and that will also generate, and that will come to the as a precipitation form to the land surface, and lot of problems will be there if it is in warm air. Then, and if the water vapor contains lot of salts, lot of dirty things, lot of contaminated materials, then it will picks up lot of different type of chemicals, adverse chemicals, and also it picks up a huge amount of heat, which when it will come ultimately as a precipitated form, then the glacier will be also melted, and there will be avalanches, and there will be lot of problems in the Himalayan region, and then there will be problems. So don't think that water pollution, just a minute. So if don't think that the marine pollution will not affect the life of the upper land or the river, the people living by the sides of the river. It is not like that. The marine pollution will affect the upper landed also. So that thing also you have to think of. The oceans are, because the oceans are ultimately the sink of all natural and man-made pollutants. Whatever the pollutants we generate ultimately travels down through the rivers and streams and other things, and ultimately meets to the ocean. That is the sink actually. So river discharges their pollutants. So, and the other sources of the ocean pollutions are the navigational discharge. Navigational discharge means actually when we travel ship along with the tankers, along with the oil tankers and other material tankers. Sometimes there is a spillage over these tankers, over the ships, and naturally there will be some kind of pollution takes place in the marine in great dimensions, so and great concentrations. So that should be also there, and from the ship also some sewage pollution is there, radioactive waste is also generated, and untreated sewage from the households, that is very important. Untreated sewage from the household, that is a big quantity now, right now, because the population is increasing. So that is the major issues, that is the stress actually now to this municipality. We are saying many things, but it is difficult, because the wastewater coming from the household, not only from the organic or inorganic materials, but huge amount of plastic are also coming along with the water. In our Kolkata, we have seen that the big canals or big khals are, we are saying as a khals, that is the canals, discharging canals, drainage canals. All these discharge canals are filled up with plastics. Now, if the plastics are there, the natural sedimentation plus natural oxidation will not take place within this discharge canal. So pollutants will remain, and that pollution will spread over the banks of these canals, and lot of problems, health hazards, starting from the health hazards, and also the ecological issues are there. Now somebody is actually was telling just a days back that the lot of biodiversity changes are now being observed. Lot of actually the beneficiary wasps and lot of insects are now being killed due to the discharge of pesticides and different type of chemicals are applying in the agricultural field. So this is also alarming. This is also very much problems to the society, and it is also challenge that how you can use it. And I would also request you to all these new generation students and all the teachers, faculties, that to actually do give some thoughts about all this alternative use of chemicals. I understand that yesterday also I have spoken in the same issues, that you see somebody was telling about the use of the biological fertilizers. Biological fertilizer means say composting materials. Composting materials means say either is a vermicomposting, cow dung molds, or say leaf molds, etc. But can we develop the such huge amount of paddy fields or crops, agricultural crops, by just simply applying this biological organic manure? It is not possible. So we have to go for the chemical fertilizers, and when the chemical fertilizers will be applied, that there will be assured it is that our topsoil will be vernacular. And these vulnerable topsoils are not only in India, but all over the world. All over the world, that the topsoils are lost. Topsoils are lost, agriculturally fertile soils are lost every year by an inch or so. So every year there will be about say 20 millimeter or so, the topsoils are being lost from the earth. Now, what will happen ultimately? How the topsoils will be developed? Topsoils will be developed, fertile soils will be developed for the long time. It is not so easy to develop for a year or so. It will be developed for say several years, maybe 20 years, maybe 30 years. How we can get rid of? How we can get it? Topsoils. Because the topsoils are, because their absorption capacity, their moisture retention capacity, their fertility capacity, soil conditioning capacity will be altered, and it is being altered. And it is due to the application of different type of chemical fertilizers and other kind of pesticides. But it is also true that we cannot manage with the organics or natural fertilizer to develop or to produce huge amount of tons and tons of paddy, tons of wheat, tons of agricultural crops and fruit products. So food insecurity is also another issues nowadays. It is coming. Though we are developing lot of technology, we are managing water, we are reusing the water also after sewage treatment. We are reusing for agricultural purpose. So water management practice is also being developed, and lot of things are being we are carrying out for making a good agricultural practice, and that is being followed also. That is being followed, and for that actually nowadays the food scarcity is reduced. But it is we are seeing that in future the insecurity will take place because the topsoil is being lost, fertility is lost, and also water management issues also will be very much difficult to tackle with. So that thing should be also think of. This kind of pollution is being taken place, and naturally you have to find out the proper solution, because you see it is all are actually management issue. I am just telling that the technology is not an issue today. Different kind of technologies are there to combat the pollution, to combat the sewage treatment, to combat the industrial waste treatment. But the problem is the management. So how to do this? How to optimize this management of this waste production from the community, from the industry, and from the commercial places, etc. That thing you should take into consideration, and that is very important. Number one, you see, I'm just telling you, I'm just giving one example. Say for any market, you have seen nowadays, in our childhood, the market was very small. Nowadays, the market means actually small. Market is not a small market, it's a mall. Now, how many malls are there with their integrated solid waste management system, water pollution control management system, or other kind of pollution control waste management system? Every mall or every big market, every mandi should have a certain kind of in-house waste management practice that should be advocated. Waste management practice means, suppose solid waste is there, it should be segregated properly, it should be segregated, and then the organic fraction may be properly being either being composted or by something to be done, and the inorganic material should be taken away. And similarly, whatever the waste will be produced, liquid waste, that should be properly being treated, and that after treatment, whatever the effluent will be generated, that must be reused again, that must be recycled again, or that may be done within the same place. That means it should not be go further, it should not be discharged away. Another problem is that if we suppose there is a sewage treatment plant, I'm just one by one I'm just describing. Suppose sewage treatment is there, say 10 mld, 20 mld sewage treatment plant there is in your city. That means you are collecting the sewage from the household and you are treating. And when you are treating by different processes, there are a lot of processes are there. Those who are civil engineer or environmental engineer, they must know it, that different type of biological means, primary treatment, secondary treatment, activated sludge process, SBR treatment, many type of treatment procedures are there, and by which you can render the wastewater up to some acceptable limit. Now, huge amount of water is now discharging. What you will do with this? Now, if you do recycling, now it is under the Ganga Action Plan, it is told that it can be managed with by recycling or reuse, and somebody should buy it also. I do not know who will buy. If somebody will buy giving no other alternative sources. In Maharashtra, if you go to the Maharashtra and if you want to do some industry, if you want to get some water from the Maharashtra Industrial Board, then they will not give you the fresh water. They will give 70 to 80% water as sewage water, which will not confirm your requirement. Suppose if you want to do some thermal power plant, or if you want to use it in a boiler, then you cannot get the parameter or the quality, boiler water quality, boiler feed water quality. So what you have to do? You have to purchase it. If you purchase the good quality of water, then your product cost will increase. And but if you use it reusable wastewater, then your product cost will be lower, but you cannot you cannot produce a similar kind of a good quality of products. So that is important. And another point of thing is very much it is there. You have to remind it. Environment, there is a word or statement which is known as environmental flow in the river. Environmental flow in the river. I do not know because I have not gone to your place, but I know that there are some small river also. There are some small river. Kali river is there, Ravi river is there, Markandeya river is there, Sirsa river is there. Lot of rivers are there. They are all tributaries, either Sutlej river or say Jamuna river. There are rivers. Now you see the big rivers, river Jamuna, Sutlej, Ravi, all these rivers, Sindh, all these rivers are not the alone one river, only single perennial river. They are connected by many tributaries. Now the tributaries do not contribute the water to the main river, then how they will get the flow? So if the flow is not there, then naturally there will be a death of river. Many rivers are died actually, because or they change their courses, and due to that the flood probability will increase. In Kolkata or South Bengal or say Bihar, in many places river Ganga is the main source of water, and main source, this is the main river. Then due to this low flow, there are some sedimentation takes place, and flood probability increases. And not only that, there are a lot of effect on the aquatic plants and aquatic animals. So this thing also you have to keep in your mind while you will do management program or management plan. When you will do material analysis program and all kind of optimization program and all that, then you have to also think that whether environmental flow will be there or not. So this aspect also to be seen. When we are polluting any river, that is also one we are doing the scene. At the same time also, stopping of the flow towards the natural water resources after treatment in the sewage treatment plant or effluent treatment plant, that is also another thing. So these things you have to keep in your mind. That then after treatment, it should go again to the river back. Not we should reuse it again. But where the places where the water scarcity is a very much, the water is not available, then also you can reuse it, and you can reuse it by proper way. Now in Bengal and many places in metropolitan cities, in Delhi and other places, Delhi water scarcity is there. Mumbai also fresh water problem is there. In different metropolitan cities, the fresh water problem is there. Now the Central Pollution Control Board or say Ministry of Environment, they have suggested that the minimum per capita demand will be 135 liters per capita per head, but that means per head per day. Now, if you use 135 liter, then your huge amount of water will be required. But that water is not wanted actually. You can manage within 100, within 80 liters per day, because your main requirement will be your sanitary purpose as well as for your bathing purpose, and also your cooking and drinking purpose. That quantity will be round about 60 or 70 or maximum 80. Now 20% will be lost. Now if you give them 135 liters, your requirement will be more, your wastage will be more, and lot of water will come as a drainage water, sewage water, or even your sewage water. So sewage. So that means your treatment cost will be also more. So this right from your per capita demand, you have to think that how much water should be supplied to the community. So community, if you can provide more, you can provide 500 liters per day also, no problem. But you have to think also that where from you will get the water, because your river is polluted. If the water is there in the river, then it will be diluted and river health can be maintained. Dissolved oxygen content in the river can be maintained. But if you reduce it by taking water at different stretches and different points, then environmental flow will be reduced. And again that, and over and above, you are proposing that you have to reuse the treated water, treated wastewater for different other purpose, not to directly discharge into the river. So this point you should keep in your mind, and those who are student or those who are doing policy maker, decision maker, and also the implementer of the different type of projects, they should also think of. So these are the different types of pollution taken place. That one is from your untreated sewage, even partially treated sewage, silage, septage, etc. Another from your dumping solid waste from the dumping ground, that is landfill. And urbanization. Urbanization is the key factor for increasing the amount of water pollution. One thing I should tell here in this connection, that the urbanization and the population increase, and almost it has been seen that in the centuries decade, that triple or more than double time, 2.5 to 3 times population has been increased. From, say, if we consider from the year of 1900 and now 2000, and then another 22 years passed, you will find that about 3 times population has been increased. Now, our earth is one. Earth is one. Our earth is, the land is not being expanded. Now you consider whatever the footprint have been actually we have produced right at this moment due to the population increase and various other kind of uses of material, almost 2.5 earth will be required, 2.5 productions. Whatever it is accumulated, that requires about 2.5. So another 50 years or so, then another 1 earth will be required. That means 3 earth will be required to accumulate all these kind of materials. Is it possible? Is it possible? It is not possible. Then what will happen? I don't know what will happen. Ecologists can tell, the other people can tell. Only thing from the water point of view, I can tell that water will be also, requirement will be increased, and where from you will get the water? Hydrological cycle will also change. Water cycle has been changed. Somewhere it is more, somewhere it is less. Somewhere it is drought, somewhere it is a flood. So this is the situation is going on. Imbalance, totally imbalance. And due to the imbalance, it is not for the natural means. It is due to the anthropogenic means, anthropogenic route, man-made routes. So this thing you have to think of, that the industrial waste, urbanization, garbage dumping, all these kind of sources are leading to the water pollution in the river, underground places, underground water, and also the surface water. Different type of boating fuels. Now, boating fuels, we are not considering about boating fuels. Boating fuel means that fossil fuels and other fuels which are used in the shipping industry. When we are run with certain boats or say launch or motor vans or ship, some fuels are being used. That fuels are also discharges, and that leads to the very high quantity of water pollutions. And you will find in many seashore pollutions, marine pollution, seashore pollution, you will feel that lot of oil spillage are there, and due to oil spillage, lot of seabirds or lot of sea animals, lot of they are now in danger, they are being killed, and there will be imbalancing of ecological disturbance or ecological sphere in the marine environment or in the sea environment. So these are the different type of water pollution takes place in different sphere, either in the river or in the groundwater, I have told. And now effects of the water pollution, I have told already that effects of the water pollutions are aquatic ecosystem. It reduces the natural dissolved oxygen in the river dissolved oxygen content, thereby eliminates sensitive organisms like various types of plankton, molluscs, fishes, etc., aquatic animals. They are being extinguished. And I think Dr. Orpita Ghosh, she is also Bengali origin. She can also understand that in Bengal there was a lot of delicious item hilsa fish. Hilsa fish in Bengal it is a ilis fish, that is hilsa fish. Now the hilsa fish is almost distinguished, extinguished in from the different places. Very difficult to get it. The cost is very high and it is extinguished. What is the reason behind it? It is because the river pollution, because it is the heat pollution, different type of man-made pollution in the river. So similarly, many places, different type of this kind of aquatic animals, aquatic fishes are being extinguished, and naturally a lot of disturbance, biodiversity disturbance in the hydrosphere. Now, once the ecological disturbance is there in the hydrosphere, then naturally it will be affected to the earth. It will be affected to the life of the earth, life in the earth, and naturally that will be deteriorated. Our total things will be deteriorated. The deterioration is not due to the asset. Deterioration is due to our mind also, our culture also, our mind. Within our mind, the disturbance will be taken place if our ecology is not properly being maintained. And then this aquatic system, not only this dissolved oxygens and other things are pollutant, and also different type of PCBs, polychlorinated biphenyls. This is a very good research areas. Polychlorinated biphenyl PCBs are there, and how you can eliminate this thing. These are also coming into the river system. When you are using some chlorine, say, chlorine is used for disinfection purpose. Chlorine is used for killing bacteria and other microbes from the water. Now, when finally we chlorinate water before supplying to the community, and excess chlorine will go to the river, and then it will mix various types of organic compounds, various types of organic amines, organic compounds, and then they will make different types of more complicated organic materials, and one of these things are known as the organochlorine compounds. This is very difficult and very dangerous from our health point of view, and that will lead to our cancer in our pelvic regions, that is in liver, gastric region, and there are some cancer being taken place. So that is very important. Heavy metals pollution is there in your Himachal Pradesh also, in Sirsa river, in Markandeya river, and in Jamuna river also, especially in the from your this what I call Buddi area, industrial sector area. There are also a lot of small scale electroplating shops are there. Therefrom also a lot of heavy metals are coming. These heavy metals are dangerous. It is also not only eliminate and destroy the sensitive aquatic organism, but it will develop lot of physical problems, lot of health issues are due to the contaminants like heavy metals. Heavy metals are not only in the surface water, heavy metals are often in the groundwater also. Those there are different techniques are there for removal of heavy metal, but you have to go from one end to another. Just I'm giving one example. Heavy metals, say like say copper, chromium, say zinc, nickel, these are heavy metals. Now these heavy metals are there in the wastewater, in the effluent, industrial discharges. There are a lot of techniques are there for removal them, to remove them. Precipitation techniques are there, coagulation, chemical coagulations processes are there, adsorption processes are there, adsorption by some carbonaceous materials or calcareous materials are there, and also nowadays phytoremediation technology using some aquatic plants for removing them, for removing this heavy metal contamination. So chromium, zinc, nickel can be removed by applying the aquatic plants like say lemna minor, water hyacinth, etc., water lettuce, etc., small scale aquatic plants. But the question is that the heavy metals will be removed. Heavy metals will be removed from the water phase, but ultimately where you will finally discharge the contaminants which are being accumulated within the aquatic plants, where ultimately it will be developed, because where it will be spill off, where it will be discharged ultimately, because ultimately it contains it. The contaminants are not removed. Contaminants are there from only from phase changes. From one phase to another phase it has been changed, but ultimately it has not go away. So it is not go away from the environment. It is remaining in the environment in some other form. So that you have to change, and that for that you have to analyze the life cycle assessment, life cycle analysis, that how you can get rid of. It is difficult. It is not an easy question. It's a research topic, that how you can go it, how you can develop. I'm just telling this is the different problems of treatment of different type. And I have already said that when the heated water is discharged, then naturally also it lowered the not only the dissolved oxygen content. Dissolved oxygen content will be reduced if the water temperature increases and increase of certain salts, increase of certain salt, salinity, etc. So not only that the dissolved oxygen only lowered by contaminants like organic pollutants, but it will be also lowered if the dissolved discharge is there, heat discharge is there, and along with some minerals or salt materials. So that is the aquatic ecosystem will be disturbed. We are saying about restoration of ecological things. So naturally for reducing the climate change or to manage the climate change, but at the same time the aquatic ecosystems are almost taking place in different way. And already I have said that human health effects a lot of diseases if the contaminated wastewater is there. I am just giving one example. Nowadays, it is recommended by the pollution control board agencies that you just observe or monitor the BOD, biochemical oxygen demand. BOD should be less than 20 or less than 5 even. And BOD is naturally a measurement of the biodegradable organic material, because it will oxidize if the oxygen is there. The organic material will oxidize, organic material will consume the oxygen and it will be oxidized, and naturally the dissolved oxygen will reduce. It will be descended. Oxygen will be descended, and naturally we always give a stress on BOD parameter. Now you see, nobody actually giving the importance on the bacterial contamination in the wastewater, bacterial contamination in the sewage. I do not know what is the position of the Himachal Pradesh, but in West Bengal, in Madhya Pradesh, in Bihar, Jharkhand area, the river Ganga is there, and in Madhya Pradesh also the river Narmada is there, and other kind of rivers are there. In south, Godavari is there, Kaveri is there. All these rivers are not contaminated with BOD. BOD is there 5 to 10 milligrams per liter. But main problem is that your bacteria pollution. That means MPN problem. The MPN coliform problem. That means the bacterial problem. Bacterial pollution is there about say 10 to the power 7, 10 to the power 8, where it is recommended that whenever you have to select some source of water for supply water for the community, and then the intake point should be selected in such a way that the bacterial quality or bacterial index should not be more than 10 to the power 3 or so that the chlorination or other kind of disinfection procedure can be adopted there. But you see, they are actually 10 to the power 4, 10 to the power 5, 10 to the power 7, it is reaching. So, but BOD is less. So now we have to also include this thing. We have to give this stress. And bacteria, how much chlorine you will use? How you can reduce the bacterial pollution? So bacterial pollution in the river, bacterial pollution due to the sewage pollution, bacteria pollution due to the human activity, that should be only one type of research today. Now you should take into consideration. I am just telling you, BOD is 5 to 15 milligrams per liter maximum in the river, but you will get lot of bacteria which are infectious bacteria, pathogenic bacteria, of course including non-pathogens also, but pathogenic bacteria are there, and they are the major problem in the river water. So that thing you have to think that how you can solve the problem. I'm just giving you, suppose your disinfection efficiency is 90%. You cannot achieve 100% efficiency. It is there in the book only. You can, if you just go through any book, environmental engineering book or water supply book, you will get 100% efficiency. By applying Chick's formula, by applying the kinetics formula, you will get 100% efficiency. But in reality, you cannot get it. Maximum 90%. So even if 90% is there, 10 to the power 4 and 90% if it is there, still you cannot get the requirement, because the bacterial contamination should be nil. It should not be. It should be zero. But you cannot get it because of these activities, because of our quality discharge.
Hello, sir.
5 minutes, 2 minutes, 2 minutes,
yes,
within 2 minutes.
Yes,
Within 2 minutes, I'm just packing. I will just take it. I will just take 2-3 minutes more and not more than that. So naturally, a lot of effects are there because of the toxic pollutants and also the sewage pollutions. Sewage pollution, don't think it is a very low grade pollution. It is also very high grade pollution, and water contaminated with mercury leads to lot of activities. And mercury, actually, if it is there in wastewater, it will be converted by biological action, bacterial action, into extreme toxic methyl mercury. Methyl mercury will be produced in the by the bacterial action if it is there in the water, and that cause many kind of psychological problem, many kind of nervous system problem, the neurological problem, lips and tongues, sores, deafness, blurring, etc. Similarly, the contaminated with cadmium, joints of the bones and joints, painful disease of bones and joints, arthritis, all kind of osteoarthritis are due to the cadmium pollutions. And similarly, the lead causes anemia. Lead contents, if the lead is there in water in good quality, good quantity, good concentration, headache will be there, anemia will be there, loss of muscle pair will be there, and also the deformity will be take place. So these are the different type of effects of water pollution. Regarding groundwater pollutions, I have told that if you now take it in groundwater is very much used in your Himachal Pradesh. Now in the groundwater, if it is contaminated with due to this dumping of solid waste, due to some industrial discharge, it is also dangerous, and it will be both dangerous in human health and maybe fatal of the for the infants. And also in many other places, not I am talking about only Himachal Pradesh, for other places also where the groundwater is only one source, Rajasthan, in Andhra Pradesh, and south and southern district in West Bengal, Bihar, and also in the Gujarat and many western states also, western provinces also, you will find that some places fluoride problem is there, fluoride in the drinking water. It's also a different type of mottling of teeth and other things are there, that you will get it. That is also, it is cited in different literature. In West Bengal and Gangetic Delta, arsenic is also another pollution. Arsenic is also a pollution, and arsenic is also all this water pollution is there. Now, if you want to live in the earth harmonically and also peacefully, then all these pollution problems to be addressed properly, and also you have to develop some good planning, good management system, management devices, so that you have to control the water pollution. In some places, water pollution can be controlled because some point source is there, it can be regulated. But when it is a non-point source, it is difficult to regulate, because this pollution problem is not only the a particular area pollution, it is not a specific pollution, it is also the biological magnification also taken place, and you have to control by different ways. Then different ways. As I'm just taking 1 minute for that. Then you have to treat the sewage properly. You have to treat the industrial effluent properly before it is releasing to the water bodies. It is emerging from the different industries. It is emerging from the different municipalities. You have to treat, you have to collect it properly, and you have to treat it with appropriate technology. Then you have to recycle it if it is possible. If it is not recycled, if the flow is less in the adjoining river, you have to discharge it, so that it will increase the environmental flow in the river. Then also the hot water, if it is there, it properly to be cooled, get it cooled, it should be cooled for properly, it should be reduces its temperature gradient at least 10 degree between inlet and outlet by proper water cooling arrangement. Domestic cleaning, tanks, streams, rivers, all should be properly done, so that it can prohibit it. So excessive use of fertilizer, pesticides should be avoided, but it is not avoidable sometimes. Organic farming we are recommending, but organic farming and efficient use of animal residues as a fertilizer, it is table talk only, but it is can be done to some extent. It can be mixed fertilizer, we can use it, and also we can use different type of low cost technology, and we can also use the exploitation of groundwater as much as possible, so that we can reduce the groundwater pollutions. These are the aspects, and we hope that we can do much better. We can, whatever we have done, whatever injustice we have made to our beautiful earth, have done. No way we can beg mercy to earth that we have done some mistake, and we will try to, it is not the only one person to be involved. Everybody is stakeholder, everybody should take the oath that we can do it, we can save the earth, we can reduce the pollution problem, we can reduce the river pollution, we can reduce the river pollution. We may not stop the pollution, but we can control it, we can minimize it, so that we can restore many water quality in the river, good quality of river, good quality of water in the river. So I think that's all from my lecture from today, and I hope that you have I actually I could not make it slide in my smartphone, Android phone. It was there in my laptop only, but it is not connected, maybe due to some uh, issue of office issues. Maybe it is not permitted office below 2010 or 14, something like that. That's why I could not make it properly arranged. So I think if you have any questions, that's all from today. Good afternoon to everybody again,
Thanks
and
a
thank
lot,
you
sir.
very much for giving the opportunity to tell or share something in your this very good gathering. Only thing I should say, if you have any question, one or two questions or any question, kindly tell me, because I will leave now again. I have to again join some other meeting. I have some BOS meeting and other meetings are there in my university, and then again I have to go some lecture in the evening for half an hour or so. I'm not fit enough to deliver lecture today because of my throat pains are there and my health is not properly going on. But still, when I have given words to your Madam Dr. Orpita Ghosh, then I have come here and I have to discuss some of the things. If you have any question, please kindly tell me, and within 1 or 2 minutes I
Okay,
can
sir.
try
Sir,
try
thanks
to
a
answer.
lot. Thanks a lot
Thank you.
for your long speech. Actually, I request you for 20 minutes speech, but you make it 1 hour lecture.
1 hour. Oh, actually, I have not seen my watch. I have not seen one watch, and I have to.
lecture. On our lecture like a class
Okay,
only.
sorry. I have taken your time. I have
No,
sorry.
no, no.
I'm taking your time.
No. It's a wonderful experience, of course. So you yes, your speech was really insightful, and it stores tells many things about biodiversity, forest conservation, and topsoil uh, uh, restoration as well. So topsoil is of course a very valuable things to preserve, because it requires for agriculture. And without wasting much more time, so I'm very much happy that Professor Mukherjee, with his too busy schedule, he accepted my invitation and gave a insightful speech in this seminar. So I'm very thanks a lot, sir.
Okay. Welcome, welcome.
It was wonderful to listen to you. So now I'm introducing our next speaker, Professor Punaslok Bhaduri from ISR Kolkata. So I am seeing sir after 10 years probably, and it's a nice experience to see you here again in this platform, on this platform, and meet you here again. Thanks a lot for accepting the invitation as well. So Professor Bhaduri completed his MSc from Edinburgh and PhD from Plymouth in the United Kingdom. Subsequently, he did his postdoctoral research from Princeton University, USA. He joined as assistant professor in ISR Kolkata in 2009, and since 2018 he is a professor of biological science in ISR Kolkata. He has also established and leads the Center for Climate and Environmental Studies, an interdisciplinary center on earth and environmental science with societal relevance in ISR Kolkata. He is the recipient of prestigious Swarna Jayanti Fellowship Award in the area of Earth and Environmental Science, conferred by Government of India in 2019. He has published more than 90 peer review papers in international journals. His research interests include investigating biocomplexity of microbial systems, nature-based solution to ecosystem restoration, antimicrobial therapeutics, and developing technologies for sustainable groundwater. One of his technological development has been commercialized for decontamination of human fecal matter in groundwater and adopted by several government agencies, including the Government of Nagaland. He is the editor mentor of Access Microbiology, editor of Geoscience Letters, associate editor uh, of Ecological Solution and Evidence, and many more. He is also a contributing author of Second World Ocean Assessment 2 of United Nations and an expert of Food and Agricultural Organization of the United Nations. He was the team leader of India's Arctic Expedition 2010. So with a over to you, sir. I'm very glad to see you here and introducing here in this platform after 10 years. So over to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Ghosh. Thank you very much for the kind invitation. I'm glad, we are meeting after 10 years virtually. Um, you have given a long introduction and you have taken the allocated few minutes from my time of 20 minutes. So I will keep very precise and to the point. I don't know, hopefully the share content thing will work. I don't know how does that work. Mm, it is not allowing me.
Professor Bhaduri, just a second.
Yeah.
Madam Orpita, can I leave now? Can I leave? Madam Orpita, can I leave now?
Yes, sir, sure. There is
Okay,
no
thank you.
questions from participants.
No
Thank
questions.
you. No questions.
How many participants were there? How many participants?
Now it is around 4 from outside.
Oh, very few, very few.
Very few. Actually, in first half, the people had the energy to join. After that, the lunch.
That is the usual thing. Okay. Thank you very much. Hope we can meet again.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We'll discuss about for collaboration, possible collaboration if possible. Thank you, sir. Thanks a lot.
Okay. Okay. Thanks.
Over to you, sir. Over to Professor Bhaduri now.
Thank you, Dr. Ghosh. Let me see very quickly if I can get this thing up and running. It seems okay. Share content is Control Shift D. That's what it's showing. Yeah, so hopefully this would work. Can you see my slide?
Yes. Your screen is visible.
Very good. Okay. Thank you, Dr. Ghosh, and it's great to be here in this seminar on Only One Earth, organized by IIM Sirmaur and led by Dr. Ghosh. Please stop me when 20 minutes is over. So I'm going to talk today about, actually, I'm going to tell a story about one of the most fragile ecosystems of India, the Sundarbans. I know many of you are based in Himachal Pradesh or currently in Himachal Pradesh, but if you fly from Himachal straight towards the east coast of India in the Bay of Bengal, facing the Bay of Bengal, you've got the Sundarbans, the world's largest contiguous mangrove ecosystem. But before I go down, I wanted to highlight that, biodiversity is very important. It is because of this biodiversity that is there on our planet, which has shaped us, the human civilization, the atmosphere, oxygenation event, from a reduced environment to this redox environment that we have. It plays a very important role beyond, which is the biodiversity and the human health. Our human society has expanded or flourished over the last 10,000 years predominantly because of this biodiversity. And it is this biodiversity that is ensuring food and water security, modulating the climate processes, playing a very important role in sustainable development, and ultimately playing an important role in the advancement of our society. One of such ecosystem, biodiverse ecosystems, is the Sundarbans mangrove ecosystem. This is the world's largest contiguous mangrove ecosystem. It is a UNESCO World Heritage Site, and very recently it has been declared as a Ramsar Site of international significance. The reason for this is this mangrove delta, which is less than 10,000 years old and formed at the interface of Ganga, Brahmaputra, and Meghna system, is very unique. Here, the mangrove vegetation have evolved in presence of freshwater flow. That's something which is very different from many of the other mangroves. And there are unique biodiversity which are present in this mangrove ecosystem, including the world famous mangrove swamp tiger, better known as Royal Bengal tiger. If we look at the Indian part of the Sundarbans, here I've put up a very simplified map. Of course, the Sundarban is present across India and Bangladesh. Bangladesh has more than 60% of the Sundarbans. India has less than 40% of the Sundarbans. But if you go eastern part of the Indian Sundarbans, this is which is a protected area. Is the biodiversity is very tightly controlled, maintained. You have got park managers. You have got very strong legal framework ensuring that the biodiversity is maintained. And as you go from east towards the west, the biodiversity changes dramatically. You have got more urban biodiversity compared to the mangrove biodiversity. And the westernmost part of the Sundarban is home to the largest island of Sundarban, the Sagar Island. This is the largest island, and it is almost the same size of Singapore. Just wanted to put in the context so that we can understand what we are talking about. Sundarban has more than 90 islands, and geologically this area is very active. That means there is a natural rate of accretion and erosion which is going on. So some islands will be formed and some islands will be again taken away by the water. But what has happened is over the last 50 years, there has been some distinct changes which are noticed in Sundarbans, and these are thought to be primarily driven by the human induced changes, better known as changing climate or climate change. If we look about Sundarbans, one of the unique features that we see is that on a daily basis, the vegetation actually goes underwater, half of or submerged, rather I should say, half of it gets submerged. And when the tidal flow goes out, then again it is exposed. So it's a very stressful ecosystem, and organisms which live in this environment, including the majestic tiger, swamp tiger, they have also adapted to this daily tidal regime, which happens twice a day. And one of the unique features of the Sundarban are this mangrove vegetation. You've got the stilt roots, and also you've got the pneumatophores, which are very, very unique and make this ecosystem very interesting. If we look at the biodiversity of Sundarban, these are home to large biodiversity. Of course, we as humans, common citizens, we are particularly, attracted to these majestic animals. For example, here you can see spotted deer. You can see the saltwater crocodiles, some of the biggest saltwater crocodiles you can encounter in Sundarbans. And of course, who can forget Sundarbans without the Royal Bengal tiger, the swamp tiger? Now, this ecosystem is also home to very lesser known organisms such as this horseshoe crab. This horseshoe crab has evolved or originated on this planet more than 250 million years ago, and in the last 250 million years they have not changed at all. So their counterparts, the dinosaurs, have basically become extinct, but they have remained and survived in the last 250 million years. But unfortunately, these horseshoe crabs are also facing the wrath of the changing climate, which we know as the climate change. The Sundarban ecosystem, if we look at it, you will see that there are different estuaries are there. Of course, we talk about the Hooghly estuary, but there are Matla, then there are Horinbhanga. Many of the estuaries are there, or 7 estuaries are there, and these estuaries are rich in biodiversity, many of which is not visible to our naked eye. For example, in this photo, I'm showing you the diatoms, which are photosynthetic organisms which are there in the Sundarban, and they drive the fishery sectors of Sundarban. Sundarban is very famous for rich coastal fisheries, not only in that region and across the Bay of Bengal that spans until the Myanmar coast. Of course, therefore, the Sundarban plays a very important role in providing food security. And although we think that Sundarban has high salinity, but actually almost 20 to 30% of the Sundarban landmass, which is habitable or which are being habitated by, there is rice is the main crop that is being grown. And here the rice variety is an indigenous variety which is adapted to fluctuating salinity, goes by the local name of Dudeshwar. and it's very very productive, and actually provides the rice bowl of the district of Sundarbans and beyond, including West Bengal. The main livelihood of the people of Sundarbans, that almost the 2 million people who live out here directly, are based on the fisheries. And here two types of fisheries happen. One is the artisanal fisheries and one is the mechanized fisheries. But here in this photo, I am showing you that a family entire family is actually engaged in fishing activities, and mostly prawn seed collection is a big thing out here. So prawn seed is very abundant because of food which is very abundant in the estuaries of Sundarbans, and then these are being supplied commercially. Of course, you get a lot of other fish. Professor Mukherjee was talking about Hilisha, for example. You get mullet, which goes by the local name of Parshe, among others. So there is this livelihood at the blue economy. That means we need to maintain this ecosystem, make it sustainable so that it continues to give out the resources, but also the biodiversity and the importance of the ecosystem is not being compromised. Sundarban is part of the coastal ocean system, and they are very, very important because they maintain the major geochemical fluxes of carbon and nitrogen, thereby modulate many of the climate-driven processes, including the Indian monsoon that we talk about. And therefore, it acts as a source and sink of CO2 and drives the productivity. But just like any other regions of the world, the Sundarban is also reeling from climate change. And when we talk about climate change, it is not just one factor; it's a multitude of factors. And this multitude of factors, we call it as multiple stressor scenario. So, for example, we know that in the northern hemisphere, the Arctic sea ice in the last 40 years has dramatically melted away. The sea surface temperature has increased. The ocean heat content, the ability of the ocean to absorb heat, is almost reaching a threshold. And we know that the COP26 meeting, which happened last year in Glasgow, there's intense discussion to keep within this 1.5 degrees Celsius framework. And I know that we could not do that, but again in the Sharm el Sheikh meeting, hopefully this is going to be again looked at. But countries like India has already taken a giant step forward. And if you look today's newspaper, you will see that in many of the SDG parameters and the NDC commitment that India has put forward, India is really leading. Particularly renewable energy is one domain. But when you talk about climate change, we're talking about global sea level, air temperature over land, temperature of the lower atmosphere, melting of snow, humidity, which is something which we don't talk about much. All of this act together and is responsible for the climate change, and what we can do is something that we need to understand. And that is the reason why today we are in this seminar. If we look at the recent IPCC report, the sixth assessment report, one thing is very clear, that our Earth is heating up at a much faster ratio. I think we are heading for a 2 degrees Celsius warming, 1.5 degrees Celsius. I don't think we will be able to kind of adhere to, but we don't want to cross the 2 degrees Celsius warming scenario, because it will reach the tip, and then it will become a state what is going to be known as an irreversible scenario. And if we look at many of the parameters, we will see it's really shocking. The CO2 concentration in our planet, it is the highest in the last 2 billion years. I mean, so we are talking about in the the biggest geological event, so much the amount of CO2 that was released, that has been exceeded by us, the humans, in the last 200 years. Sea level rise is fastest in 3,000 years. Arctic sea ice, as I was talking about, lowest in 1,000 years. And of course, the glaciers are retreating at an unprecedented rate in the last 2,000 years. So actually, we are faced with dire consequences. And one of the things that is happening is the oceans are taking up 2 to 4 times more of the global heat that is being generated, and it will continue to do so if we stick to this 2 degrees Celsius. But if it crosses 2 degrees Celsius, we are talking about 5 to 7 times of higher emission and more absorbing of heat, and ultimately it will reach a threshold limit. So we, as I was saying over and over again, we are at the crossroad, and this crossroad is very clearly felt in terms of the coastlines globally, including in India, including in Sundarbans. Marine heat waves are becoming very, very common, and it is affecting ocean biodiversity, corals, kelp forest, among others. And this has got huge consequences in terms of modulating the climate processes globally, including in India. Our CO2 emission rate is the highest. 2 years we are all stuck at home. The COVID brought us an unprecedented scenario, but actually CO2 emission has become higher. It's just the opposite, because we are stuck inside room. We have used more fossil fuel related materials than we did before, and that has contributed dramatically to the CO2 emissions. So actually we are heading towards a catastrophic scenario, and South Asia, particularly the South Asian countries, the South Asian oceans are very, very vulnerable. And the recent IPCC report clearly tells us one of such scenario is the sea level rise. The sea level rise is really expanding at an unprecedented rate, and low-lying coastal cities, for example, Madras or Chennai, I should say rather, Kolkata, Bhubaneswar, or Mumbai, all are going to be very vulnerable. They are going to be flooded by the year 2050. This is a reality that we are living with. So unless and until we actually slow down the sea level rise, that means we cut the fossil fuel use, this is going to happen. And of course, in Sundarban, there's a projection of nearly 30 centimeter of sea level rise. And the other issue of the Sundarban is it's actually located on a geologically very active system, tectonically active plates. So therefore, the being in tectonically active, the effect of the sea level rise is also going to be far more dramatic. We don't have to go too far. Again, I was pointing to you that Sagar Island, which is the biggest island of Indian Sundarban. Here in this image, I'm showing you that after a major cyclone, all these freshwater resources completely became saline, and it's going to remain like this in the next 5-10 years until we come up with sustainable technologies to convert in this saline water into freshwater scenario. We know that many of the subsurface uh, aquifers, I'm not talking the deep one, but the general subsurface aquifer, these have also been inundated with saline water. Of course, technologies are being used here. In this case, you must be seeing a photo facing the seafront. There used to be agricultural land, villages, all have been taken away. Sagar Island has lost more than 20 kilometers in the last 30 years because of the geological activity and, of course, the sea level rise effect. This is another island of Sundarban, the G plot, which is considered to be the end of the Sundarban, one end of the Sundarban. Here, many villages have been lost, because of the sea level rise. So this is a stark reality that we are living with, and 30 centimeter rise means this is going to happen. Embankments will be destroyed, and unless and until we come up with sustainable technologies like nature-based solutions, lowering the emission rate will not be able to control. And this is what we have highlighted partly in the second World Ocean Assessment Report of the United Nations, where he says that many of the fishery-dependent developing states are especially vulnerable. Of course, we are the world's fifth largest economy. We are not considered a developing country, but we owe to many of the developing countries and the least developing countries, island developing countries, where we have to play a very important role, a leadership role. And of course, the global alliance on the renewable energy is one front where India has been leading and setting an example. We have been tracking how these changes are happening. I'll not go into that today, but I want to highlight that in the Bay of Bengal region, there has been increasing number of cyclones. Of course, the famous one in recent time has been the cyclone Amphan of 2020, which caused large scale damages to the region. All these very so-called structures which we humans are very proud of were actually tossed aside by the cyclone. There were immense loss, economic loss, and agricultural loss. Of course, the blue economy has been very badly affected in the region. And if we go into the city of Kolkata, there has been tremendous loss. Because of this Sundarban, the mangrove, the cyclone, Amphan cyclone, which was proceeding towards Kolkata at a speed of 160 kilometers per hour, was brought down to 130 kilometers per hour. So the mangrove actually saved the city of Kolkata. But I think unless and until we protect the mangroves very sustainably, this will not be able to save many of the cities, many of the township, and many of the villages more inland. In last year, we had another cyclone, the cyclone Yas. Of course, the intensity was much less. The epicenter was in Orissa, but here we had lot of seawater, saltwater intrusion caused lot of damage, and many of the local communities have suffered very immensely after the last cyclone. And we, as a group, we are trying to develop sensors and automation which we are putting throughout the Sundarban, trying to understand the kind of changes that is happening in the Sundarban, so that we can effectively develop models which can tell us that what is really the rate of change which is happening in the Sundarbans. And this is an ongoing process, because here we are developing very cost effective sensors and putting them throughout the Sundarbans to understand that, because ultimately we have to take our science to the society, who are the most important pillars in addition to this magnificent landscape of Sundarbans. And here is one example how we install the sensors and validate them in throughout the Sundarban. The other point I want to highlight is plastic pollution is a massive problem. In Sundarban, this is a huge problem. In last 2 years, we have removed almost 500 kgs of plastic just from one island of Sundarbans. And that is also not something we have put huge effort. We just collected the plastic from the different parts, and most of these plastics have originated from the river Ganges upstream. So unless and until we understand the value of sustainability, and it's very nice to hear about the director of IIM Sirmore talking this morning about when he was young, his parents used to take the jute bag, the cotton bag. I think we need to understand what really sustainability is, and we need to practice sustainability. And unless we don't do that, many of these landscape, many of these unique waterscapes will be lost forever, and this will have huge consequences. We have laid ambitious goals, the 17 main sustainable goals. We are talking about zero hunger, good health and well-being, gender equality. We are talking about affordable clean energy, climate action, life below water. We're talking about partnership for the goals, sustainable cities and communities, but we will not be able to achieve this unless and until we take a step. It might be a small step, but each small step will lead to giant action. We owe to our present generation, and we owe to our future generation, and we owe to the biodiversity that helped us to actually flourish throughout the planet. And I want to end saying that we humans benefit more from marine resources, from coastal resources. And if we want to continue benefiting these resources, we have to manage our oceans more sustainably and more in an integrative manner. And we have to play a very, very important role in years and decades ahead. It might be a small step, but it would be a very important step that we can take ahead. I want to end there, and I look forward to any question that you may have. Thank you so much. Dr. Ghosh, your microphone is off.
Thanks a lot, Professor Bhaduri, for your wonderful speech in the stipulated time. And I'd like to discuss further for this for our collaboration things, if possible. So it was wonderful to see you in this platform after 10 years, and I wish to stay in touch for further research opportunity.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot, sir. Thanks a lot for accepting the invitation and give your wonderful speech. Thank you. Thanks a lot. So we have Aparna, are you here? Hear me? Yes, Aparna. You are audible to me. Am I audible to you?
Yes,
well?
yes, you're completely audible and visible, Dr. Arpita.
Thank you. Thanks for coming, and thanks for accepting my invitation. So I'm introducing the last speaker of this seminar, Ms. Aparna Shadoge, is an IIT Delhi alumni. She is Bharti scholarship holder. She is a TEDx speaker as well. Young innovator, leader, winner of numerous prestigious leader award. She has more than 17 years of experience in investing, banking, risk management, consulting, technology adoption, greenfield project deployment. She heads Credit Risk India, NatWest Group. She is a co-founder of social initiative, women entrepreneurship and empowerment, and inclusive innovation in new normal. Both are global platform to strengthen women economic empowerment and making positive climate change. She is a regular speaker at various prestigious forums on women empowerment and climate change. Her articles are published by leading journals including CEO Insights, Business World, Financial Express, Bloomberg, and many more. She has served as treasurer of IIT Delhi Alumni Association and presented financial budgets in AGMs. So without wasting much more time, I am handing over this session to you, Aparna, It's over to you. Please give your speech now and complete within 15-20 minutes. Thank you.
Thanks, Dr. Arpita. Dr. Arpita, am I visible?
Yes, you are visible and audible as well.
Okay.
And I have given you the presenter right if you wish to share, otherwise you can speak.
No, I don't want to present, so that's
Okay,
absolutely
okay.
fine. Thank you, Dr. Arpita. Friends, good morning, good evening, good afternoon. Thank you so much for being here to invest in our planet, to save our planet. And if you're wondering why did I say good morning, good evening, and good afternoon, the reason is because you're solving a global problem. Climate risk is not an India problem, it's a global problem. And we all have gathered here to solve the problem. So we should be proud of ourselves that we are working together to solve it. Dr. Arpita, thank you so much for taking this initiative and inviting me for that. Thank you so much. It's really an honor to be out here. Friends, we all were recently shocked by the unfortunate and sudden demise of a beloved singer, KK. Is this uncommon? Unfortunately, no. Research says we are more susceptible to heart disease post-pandemic. The people who have suffered from COVID, they are 52% more likely for this cardiovascular disease. The pandemic has hurted us badly from all the aspects. Now the question arises, why are we having so many endemics and pandemics? Friends, we're losing our greatest treasure, biodiversity, faster than ever. Nature has created biodiversity to save us, protect us. Nature is a chain where each biodiversity feeds each other, supports each other, nurture each other. And we are losing that faster than ever. And they are our first line of defense against this endemics and pandemics. And that's the reason we are witnessing what we are witnessing, as my fellow panelists have spoken. Not only this, the summer heats which we are witnessing now are increasing health threats. It is increasing the threat of cardiovascular diseases. It is increasing the threats of waterborne diseases. It is increasing other threats like malnutrition, mental well-being, and my heart goes in pain when I'm going to talk about some brutal facts, but they are truth. India's average temperature is increasing. Our extreme weather temperature is increasing. Our sea level is going up. Our soil is losing the capacity to produce food. Friends, we're losing more than 7 lakh people in a year because of abnormal cold and heat. I still remember that brutal night when the whole night I was thinking that whether I'm going to get oxygen next year or not. Because we were under the threat, we have got suffered from the pandemic. I want to live happily with you all, with my family. Would climate risk allow me to do that? Would climate risk allow you to do that? Unfortunately, the climate risk is increasing the probability of mortality. Our life is in danger because of increased climate risk. It is hurting my wallet as well. With the increase in temperature, crop yields are going down. The people who are dependent on fisheries, their lives are getting impacted. We are losing 100 billion hours in a year because of the heat. 100 billion hours. Imagine the impact it can make on our GDP. And it is projected that it is going to go higher to 230 billion hours. Research says after an optimal temperature, the rise in temperature of 1 degree Celsius lead to decline in GDP of 1 to 1.7%. We are talking of trillions and trillions of money now. Climate risk impacts our financial well-being. Not only this, let's talk about financial institutions. If we talk about the physical risk posed by the climate risk, which is increased cyclones, the energy of the cyclones, the frequency of the cyclones, the floods, our physical assets are getting impacted. The cost to insurance them is getting impacted. In Florida, there is an estimate that if everything remains same, the property is going to be devalued by 30 to 80 billion, which is around 15 to 50% because of the flood risk. We're hearing almost, unfortunately, the fires in the California, glaciers melting in Iceland. This is impacting our real estate price. This is impacting our insurance. This is impacting people defaulting on their mortgage. Climate risk is impacting our well-being, our financial well-being, our physical well-being, our mental well-being. And if we don't do anything now, I don't know whether we'll have a chance to do anything. Friends, if you're feeling hot and humid now with the temperature and with my talks, you know what IPCC reports clearly says that India and Pakistan would be much more hotter and humid in the coming years because of the climate impact. That's the world we are living in. But when Dr. Arpita invited me for this session, I was super excited. The reason is I see a big hope. I see an opportunity that together we can save this planet. We can't undo the mistakes of the past. That has already happened. But can we together save the planet? Can we build back better? Yes, we all can do it. If we all join hands together and make conscious steps, we can save our planet. And such initiatives like what Dr. Arpita has organized today goes a long way to save our planet. First, let us understand why all this is happening. What is climate? Climate is the average condition, right, over the series of years of air quality, temperature, pressure, all that. Now, what is happening? That is changing, and that is a climate change. Now, why does it pose a risk? Let's understand. So, sun senses the energy which is reflected by the earth called the albedo effect. Now, this energy is absorbed by certain gases which are called greenhouse gases. Now, had the greenhouse gases been not there, the temperature of Earth would have been the minus 18 degrees Celsius. You and I could not have been on this Earth. So, greenhouse gas is a natural phenomenon which is required for the existence. Now, what the mankind did? We thought that atmosphere is infinite. Let's use it as the way we want. So, we have thrown the trillions, millions of tons of carbon dioxide. And now that is accumulated in the atmosphere and is absorbing more heat and is leading to global warming. I say global warming is actually a global warning for all of us. Let us understand some of the greenhouse gases. We all know about carbon dioxide. We have methane, nitrous oxide. What generally scientists do is they match it to the equivalent of CO2. So let's say if there is a 1 ton of methane in the atmosphere and 1 ton of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere, they look at what is the heating global potential value to heat the earth in 100 years and then match it to the equivalent. So methane is more lethal. It's around 28 times more than carbon dioxide. And then they measure the greenhouse gases in the atmosphere in the world. Our emissions are going all-time high. We've reached to around 50 billion tons, which we were around 30 in the 1980s. And we are talking about the COP26, COP21, all leaders coming together, all the commitments, but harsh reality, it is increasing. Now, why do I still see a hope and a big hope? Few positive things. And where India is taking a commendable lead, which makes me very proud. We have seen the cost of renewable energy going down. It is increasingly going down in a decade, which is good. We are seeing a lot of initiatives coming on the solar energy, green energy. FIs in COP26 promised the world that they are going to invest $130 trillion for the green investment, which is a big, big money. That's a commitment never has been made. So it's a time when if you start thinking how we can solve the problem, there are a lot of opportunities and there are a lot of good initiatives which are coming, which I'm going to do. Let's talk about California, which is prone to wildfires because they have a lot of combustible vegetation. What they have done is, and the very interesting concept, they have deployed goats. Yes, you heard me correctly, goats. Now, goats gobble these brushes and these grasses, which was creating a lot of wildfires out there. And this has become a phenomena there. A lot of startups have come there, a lot of crowdfunding is there to save the California from this. That's an interesting concept. In India, we cannot forget the heat waves in Ahmedabad, which killed around 1,500 people. Now, we have taken a lot of initiative. We have trained our frontline staff. We are getting our rooftop painted white, which is helping us to protect the lives. In UK, they have built a barrier on River Thames to protect the infrastructure and people. In Netherlands, they're expanding the rivers. They are making it that live with the river rather than to fight with it, so that if there is a flood, we all are protected. And they've invested in infrastructure. India has taken a major step with the International Solar Alliance, which we should be proud of. Our Prime Minister announced a lot of initiatives yesterday, like LIFE initiative, soil regeneration initiative, ethanol initiative. There's a lot of support for the green ventures initiative, and that's the reason this type of talks enable these initiatives to get strengthened, and that's what we are looking. So, friends, this is a time when we have to act. There is no other way we are left with. But this is a time when everybody understands the climate. We are understanding that if we don't act today, there would be no planet B tomorrow, which is a theme. So there is a lot of focus. And what I request from this group is be a climate champion. And what I do myself is I try to talk to as many leaders as you are about the climate. Because more we talk about it, more we can save our earth. We all can take the steps. For example, some of the steps which I am taking, I've started conserving water. I've started conserving electricity. And the most important thing, fashion industry is one of the major contributor of global emissions. I've started reusing, recycling. I would like to take one of the famous example of UK, the famous brand called Patagonia. So generally we go to market and see buy this jacket. What they did was they put a jacket and said, don't buy this jacket. There is no need to buy this jacket. Get your existing jacket reused, re-innovated, repaired. They are 20% costlier than other competitors, and they're making good profits. So it's a time when people are understanding that we need to reuse it, recycle it, rather than industry people using and throwing it. And we all should do that. There is a lot of focus on getting the soil regenerated. There's a lot of focus on helping women entrepreneurs to go. I'm personally mentoring a lot of women entrepreneurs. There's a lot of focus globally to work together. I have personally hosted a global conference Dr. Arpita has been part of, so that we leverage each other, the best practices, save the biodiversity. And and the biggest change I even see in the corporates. So there was a time when organization used to say that we exist to make profit. Their whole purpose was to make profit. Now gone are the days. Now organizations say we exist for a purpose. We exist, we make goods and service, in turn we make profit out of it, but we exist for a purpose. It's a change in the mindset. People want to be purpose driven, and they're making conscious steps. So citizens talk about organization, NGOs, government. And I think this is a great opportunity for India and the or institute like yours, Dr. Arpita, where people join hands, build a sustainable leaders who think about moving to net zero, who thinks about innovation in protecting our environment, who take daily steps to protect our, whether it's saving the electricity, saving the water, reusing the water, recycling the cloths, saving us rather than burning the fossil, moving to the renewable energy, and more talk about it. Because more and more we talk about it, more and more we build this global community, we can save our planet. As Mahatma Gandhi who said, there is enough on the planet for everyone needs, but not enough for everyone greeds. And if all of us come together, we can really restore our planet, we can build it better, we can have sustainable, equitable living for all of us, we can achieve our sustainable development goals, because everybody wants to do that, whether it's a governments, whether our political leaders, whether it's NGO, whether the institutions like you, whether the citizens, whether finance, everything is there. So it's a time to innovate, it's a time to be a sustainable leader and take this further. Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot, Aparna, for your valuable speech on inclusion and climate change. And I'm glad that you accepted my invitation. You were such a pioneer of women entrepreneurship. I'd like to stay in touch with you for further discussion. You are globally are one woman entrepreneur with MIT. Thanks a lot for being with us, and I'm very happy that you are here. So now time for a vote of thanks formally. So I'm thankful to all the speakers for accepting the invitation to speak on these environmental day issues and to our participants. I'm thankful to our Honorable Director, Sir, Professor Agnihotri, for the approval and for giving his speech in busy time. For his wonderful, also for his wonderful planning for this center. And next time, I wish to thank other my colleagues, the faculty and staff members of IIM Shermore, mainly the IT team of Institute. Without their help, I could not make this seminar. Special thanks to Rijwanji and of course Center RA. Without their help also, I cannot make possible this seminar in my teaching with my teaching and research job. I'm thankful to all the participants for accepting the invite for joining us. So our speakers were Professor Bhaduri, Professor Mukherjee, Dr. Manoj Kumar, Dr. Sudipta Chatterjee, and Ms. Aparna Sharogi. I'm thankful to all the speakers for giving their valuable speech in their busy schedule and accepting the invitation to speak on these issues. So formally, I am thankful to I'm giving thanks to everyone, starting from our director then speakers, then our all the other resource person, and of course the participants. So I'm stopping here and hope to see you all in our next seminar or any other next event. I hope you have got some idea and understanding how to protect the environment and why. What is our benefit as well. So I'm stopping here. Thanks a lot.